I think we'll get started because we've got quite a few participants now. So hi everyone and welcome to our presentation today. We're going to be talking through some top tips for management during these kind of uncertain times that we find ourselves in. So just to introduce ourselves, so my name is Kirsty Barnard. I am based at Worcester College and I'm a sales executive who looks after business and management training and apprenticeships. And over to you, Jo.
I'm Jo Murphy. I'm a business development manager at Worcester Business School, which is part of the University of Worcester. I was previously a course lead and lecturer, and I predominantly work in the areas of business to do with change management and project management. I'm also involved and oversee our level 5 and level 7 apprenticeship provision at the university. Thank you.
Okay, Dan. Okay, so just a little bit about Worcester College initially before we kickstart. So we are uniquely and proudly vocational, and our passion is to unleash the potential of individuals, communities and businesses. So we like our learners to leave the college as skilled, professional and enterprising individuals, which is crucial in today's society. So just a little bit about Worcester College. So we work with over 500 employers. We have over 2,000 apprentices and 4,000 full-time 16 to 18 students. And you can now study up to degree level with us, which is something we will talk about a little bit later on, as that is in partnership with Worcester University as well. Okay. And over to you, Jo, to give us a bit of background about the University of Worcester.
So the University of Worcester, we're made up of 9 academic schools. We have approximately sort of 10 to 11,000 students each year. One of the buildings at the top there on the top right that you can see is our city campus. So we're spread over various points across the city of Worcester. We have a wide range of undergraduate, postgraduate and doctoral courses. We do lots of apprenticeships currently with our nursing, teaching, paramedic science, and also some in business. We also have a sort of unique offering in that we partnered with our local county council, and we have which is our sort of a public library and university library in one, which is quite an iconic building in the city, and you can see that there on the bottom right, which is called the Hive.
Lovely. So as we mentioned, today we're going to be looking at top tips for management in these kind of uncertain times that we find ourselves in. So myself and Jo have just put together some slides and a short video from one of Jo's colleagues just to talk about different ideas that you could implement into your team, into your business, just during these challenging times that we find ourselves in. So I'm going to initially pass over to Jo to give you a bit of an overview and give you some top tips for managing those teams. Over to you, Jo.
Thank you, Kirsty. Normally when I put things together like this, I have a whole bank of research and expertise to go to within the university, perhaps sort of, sort of books or document, papers that have been done or studies that colleagues have done. As we've not ever been through anything like this before, I haven't had the ease of doing that. So I've really based a lot of what these practical tips or top tips are around what I've experienced as a manager during these times, what I've been talking to other people about, so people that are within my business networks. I do a lot of networking through the chamber and through the LEP. Connected quite well. So a lot of the talk about those sessions has been around how everybody is coping, how everybody is feeling. So what I've done is just pulled together a lot of my thoughts, really, and what other people have been saying to me. So one thing I wanted to start about was in terms of governance and structure. So you would normally have your team meetings, your briefings. And one of the things that we've done at the university within the business school is that we've increased those types of meetings, but shortened them. So where perhaps we'd have a department meeting once a month, we've made that weekly. And I think that's been really important to make sure that everybody is having regular contact and that there is some sort of something in their day. So that's one thing that I found really, really well. I've also done things like daily briefings if I felt like it's necessary to make sure that staff are staying on task and that they feel like they know what they need to do. I think an interesting point for me is about, what does flexible working mean? What does working from home mean? We've all had to all of a sudden move from the office to home. You know, there's going to be different expectations from each employer. So for example, my work are very, very flexible, and when I was doing the homeschooling thing, I know that I can work from very early on, perhaps have a do some homeschooling in the day and then log back on. Now some organizations, that's not how they want you to work. So are your staff clear on what it is in terms of what their working hours are? Can they be flexible around that? I've also heard from some employers, some staff, that their employers expect them to be exactly at their laptop at all times during a certain set time. So if they are Skyped, or they may even be checked that they are logged on during those times. Some of it all sounds a bit Big Brother to me, and I'm not sure I approve of all that totally, but it's just making sure that what expectations you have, your staff know that. Infrastructure and home challenges. So I've mentioned there about sort of working at home. Again, as I said earlier, we've all had to suddenly start working at home. Does somebody have you got a desk? What's your IT situation like? That can be very, very stressful. I think when we went into the lockdown situation, we didn't know how long this was going to last. This isn't going away. This is a point now to make sure, if you are expecting staff to maybe have a combination of working at home or face to face, what is it that you're doing to facilitate that? I've got friends, and my husband have worked at home for years, and their companies actually provide them with financial incentive to do that, and actually provide them with a working at home allowance, and that then contributes to things like the cost of your broadband, for example. So, what are you doing to make that make that much easier for your staff? Next slide, please, Dan. Now, this was something that occurred to me the other day as well. So, as managers and leaders, you're having to really, really support your staff. How equipped are you to do that? There's lots of talk about staff's mental health, what they're going through. So, in order for you to be a good manager and leader to be able to deal with that, what do you need to improve on? What training and support do you need? So my second point on here, I think where I got to, is like, who's supporting the managers and leaders? Because a lot of all the talk that we've been, talking about is about how to support staff that are struggling, staff going on furlough, the threat of redundancy, but actually who's supporting the managers and leaders as well? One of the things that I've heard quite a lot about is about being really open and transparent with everybody. So, if staff are on furlough, if there is issues around what the viability of their role or whatever when they come back, would the staff appreciate being told that, and told what the exact position with the organisation is? I've heard of cases where people have been put on furlough I was talking to an employment lawyer the other day, on furlough in February and March, and the next contact they've had is in October to make them redundant. Now, the other staff, that might not be completely impacting them directly, but a lot of people are got quite close through their jobs or are friends. What external support? There's different organisations. We have something at the university, so it is like a confidential support line, and this is a service that the university pay for with an external company that have expertise in that. So that might be something that you may want to consider, that you could implement. Furlough. I was furloughed for 3 weeks, and for me it was great because I've got children at home, and it was sort of a good break. It's not obviously the free holiday that can be perceived by others. I've had people who were furloughed in my team. I was talking to some people yesterday. I mentioned I was doing training. They really struggled with furlough, and a lot of that was to do with, well, I can't be very important to the organisation, or I can't be that key if they can just bench me for a while. So, and I've talked to another person the other day that runs a big brewery, and he said it's almost caused two tribes within his organisation: those who were furloughed and those that weren't. I asked then, so what are you going to do about that? How are you going to address that? And so he was putting on some kind of team building things, and really trying to get the staff back into, all together on that same journey. So for, staff that have been furloughed, I think it's got to be accepted that they will all come from very, very different positions with that. Next slide, please, Dan. We had this started off back in March, and we've actually carried this on. So one of our lecturers started this coffee at 11 a.m. so you could join virtually and have your coffee break. This has been an absolute huge success. Nobody is allowed to talk about work in that. It is literally talking about how there's a lot of moaning goes on, obviously, but it is quite nice. I don't go all the time, but I really enjoy dropping in on that. And that was started off by somebody that lives on their own. And that's also morphed into, now we have a photography club on a Friday that's an online thing. So, that's just a special interest, and that's really worked. And we also had a few online socials in the evening, and I completely accept that's not for everybody, but it's nice to have that choice for those sorts of things, particularly with our staff that live on their own. We had an away day online the other week. I was really skeptical about this. I thought, how is this going to work? But we did it, and we used breakout rooms. We had different presenters, and we had some informal chat time, because that's, I think, what a lot of people are missing. So it did work surprisingly well, and I think, less so much about the content. I always feel really inspired and motivated when I've been on an away day or a half day where everybody's got together. So, consider doing that as well, or a half day. Online meetings more fun. This is obviously depending on the culture of your organisation. I've heard this from one of the government departments that my uncle works for. So they started this thing, and they would have calls, and then people would have a different object on the shelf behind them, and nobody quite know if that was supposed to be there or not. So that just livened up a few meetings that they were having. So that's just an example of something that just added a little bit more to those. The 3 challenges, so I've heard this used quite a bit, and I use this with a couple of my team. I don't do it on a daily thing. I usually do it on a weekly thing. If I think they're struggling a bit, or I think I'm picking up that they're a little bit stressed, I'll say, right, what are your top 3 challenges this week? And just talk through maybe what we can do to provide a solution to that. So if I'm taking away something that's keeping them awake at night, that for me is really good, and it also gives me a really good insight into what perhaps is not working quite so well. I talked about the team meets and the things on the previous slides, but using one-to-ones and mini appraisals. So we all have our appraisal system. A year sometimes a really long time, isn't it, to wait to make sure you're on track. COVID's changed so many priorities. Also, I know from some people they struggle to stay on task a bit, or they're finding it hard to motivate themselves. So put in a little bit more regular catch-ups, and that can be based around where you think your staff are struggling a bit. I think that's all my 3 slides, isn't it? Oh, I've still got one more. Oh, there we go. Keep going, Jo. So the practical tips again. So the shared documents and project task lists. Now this came to bite me back yesterday, actually, because I'm a huge user of OneDrive. I get all the team to put all their documents in there. So obviously in my power cut yesterday, that didn't work very well. That that wasn't great. But there were sort of ways, better ways. And so if you're not doing that now, as I said, this isn't going away, and you can all pick that up from the news or whatever. So what is, how can you facilitate? It isn't just about having these online platforms, it's also a bit more about how you share your documents. I think we're all becoming a lot better with Zoom and Teams and things like that, so have a look. There's also some focused apps, so if you've got like a keen IT person, in tech guy in the team, or woman in the team, there's packages like there's one I've come across called Monday, and there's other things that can facilitate that. A huge thing that I have noticed, and this is particularly from the students, not my colleagues, is about how people come across online. What's the culture of your organisation with that? You know, if you are very formal, you know, you're obviously going to have that expectation with your staff on there. Also, you know, I've had calls with people and they are eating their lunch, or you know, and I don't particularly like that. You know, what you've got to kind of set your boundaries and things, and as an individual you also have to have an awareness of how you're coming across. So I have this huge thing about personal branding at work, and I've done some work with apprentices on this. You know, it's how are you coming across? Are you coming across professional? How do you want to be perceived? So whether you're in the office or online, how is it you're presenting yourself? And how is that? Has your normal office-based culture transferred to the online environment? Are things different? I'm not saying that that it should have done or shouldn't have done, but I think that's a really interesting thing to think about. How approachable are you as well in that etiquette and personal branding as a manager and leader? There's a lot on you at the moment to lead those teams. So, you know, are you available? How are you, you know, if one of your staff come to you, are you just, how are you with them? Because that can have a huge impact on an employee. This last point, because I'm pretty sure this is my last slide, I've really thought about this in this last week, and I've been talking a lot about this to people. This with everything going on at the moment, I think when we went into this, we thought, oh, it'll just be for the summer and then we'll all be back in the office. And then we've started thinking, oh, we'll all be sorted out by Christmas and then, you know, we'll be back in and we can carry on. That's not going to happen. Also, why shouldn't we embrace some of this working at home if it's suiting people? So I would suggest this is a really good time to stop, reflect and reset where we are. What have you learned over the last few months with your staff and your teams and your organisation about working in this way? What lessons learned are there? What do you want to take forward and improve? And what aspects do you want to change? So, you know, maybe a little lessons learned or something like that, I think would be really, really valuable. And as I keep saying, that's a bit of a sound a bit doom and gloom, but it's not over yet, and we need to plan now really for the next year. That's what I would suggest. I'm not saying it'll all be finished before or after that year, but what is your plan rather than being reactive to it? Thank you. Has anybody got any questions before I move on, or are you doing those at the end, Kirsty?
Yeah, we'll do the questions at the end if you like.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Yeah.
Do you want the next slide? Okay, so just following on from what Joe said, really. Obviously, like Joe said, it isn't going away, unfortunately. And I think I've heard a lot of people say, like, oh, 2020, it's a write-off. Let's just leave this year, forget this year. I think really it's, like Joe said, it's a time to reflect and kind of think, actually, what can we do? What can we do to make this year valuable? You know, I think really we've all come through a lot of challenges, and we've all faced a lot of changes in our home lives, in work lives. Everything has kind of changed and been turned upside down. And I think rather than us just pause and wait for it all to be over, let's try and embrace that change as much as we can. So obviously, you know, some staff might have handled the work from home thing a lot better than others. But I think it's important that you're there for those staff regardless, because you don't know what anxieties working from home or working back at work or constant chop and changing, what anxieties that might have raised in people. So I think communication, like Joe said, and supporting staff and colleagues is most important. And also knowing where you can signpost those individuals, so if they do raise concerns, or you know that they feel a little bit lost and unsure of what their next steps are, then I think we need to know where we can signpost those individuals and really support them. I think as well, this time is, like I've got there, identify areas of professional development. So I know for myself personally, in lockdown, when we were completely locked down, working from home, work kind of did reach a bit of a standstill. Things were a lot slower. Not everyone was working, so it was kind of difficult to get in touch with anyone. And I felt myself like my mind was just kind of empty. I needed something to kind of stimulate my brain again and start challenging me. And I think, you know, if you reach out to your teams, individuals might feel the same. They might want to look at those kind of free short courses that they can do. They might want to look at courses, projects, apprenticeships even, to kind of keep their mind active and also to get something out of this year. So at the end of 2020, they can say, actually, I did this project, I did this course, I did this apprenticeship, and they've took a new step in the right direction in terms of personal development and professional development. So I think reaching out and making people aware of what is out there and what is available to them is kind of a nice way to kind of drive the team and kind of keep them motivated and keep their mind active. And I think in turn that will improve and drive performance because you are encouraging them and motivating them as a team. So that's just a little point from me in terms of some top tips, is just to be there, communicate with the team, and also look at different things they can do if you do find that they maybe want something else to kind of challenge them. Okay, Dan? Okay, so we've now got a short video from one of Joe's colleagues at the University of Worcester, Paolo. He's going to talk to us about some internal communications and how they are effective. So over to Paolo.
Good afternoon. My name is Paolo Moravila, and I would like to thank you for the opportunity of being here today to talk about internal communications and how we actually manage and engage employees during difficult times. What I'll do next is I will stop the camera and I will carry on with the PowerPoint presentation. And I hope you enjoy it as much as I did preparing this presentation for you today. As I said before, today I'm going to be talking about how do we actually engage with employees during difficult times. The key areas that we're going to cover is we're going to understand what internal communications are. We are going to be talking about the challenges that we are facing with, for example, COVID-19, and the issues that actually people face when working from home, and what can we do to actually enhance the employees' experience. Before that, I would like to introduce myself. My name, as I said before, is Paulo Moravila. I am a communications expert, originally from Latin America, and I have experience in the communications industry in the United States, specifically in Miami. I also work in London for Harrods, and I work for various multinational companies in Latin America, like Canon and Toyota. I have an international MBA, an MBA in International Management from Royal Holloway University of London. And I have a doctorate in social media and consumer behavior for the University of Birmingham. And right now I am the marketing and PR communications lead at the Worcester Business School. So this is me, and I hope my experience is useful and interesting for you. So internal communications, the first thing about this is that we need to understand what internal communications are, and is a function of that effective flow of two-way information among participants within an organization. This can be from the top down of the hierarchy, or it could be from the bottom up, or also sideways. The benefits of this communication is that it builds a sense of community and trust with the employees and the organization. And then you can engage with them through emails, meetings, phone calls, the internet, publications, social media. So these benefits actually is that the employees, first of all, understand the big picture. where we're going as an organization, they feel value, they feel that we listen to them, and they feel like a very important part of the organization. Second one is the people are more productive when they have a meaning, when there is a reason why they have to do their job. They feel valued. These also create better leaders in all stages of the organization. In this context, leaders are more able to understand the employees' needs and meet those needs to motivate people and engage with them. Also, we have more hands-on managers. These are eager to engage with the day-to-day occurrences in the organization, and we build a culture of communications. There is trust, there is engagement, there is a continuous of communications of communication, which it at the end, it will result in a better performance of each one of the members of the organization. However, as we know, during these challenging times during COVID, we do also have challenges in this communication. And this is that people are working home, people are not going to the office, people feel more isolated. So these also create challenges. For example, mental health. People have a tendency to feel that they're not part of the team. So how do we actually include people in our decisions, in our day-to-day occurrences? IT safety is another very important one. How do we actually guarantee that when people are working from home, um, their computer and all the data that they share with other people from the organization is safe? People do have the tendency to feel lonely. Um, Working from a very busy office, like people walk around and there's a lot of buzz and noise, you come to a very solitary place of work. And this actually leads to the next one. It's how you balance that work-life balance. How people actually decide when, okay, I work from 9 to 5, and then I carry on and I move into my own private life, or you work 9 to 5 and then you still doing things that that are required to do at home with the rest of your family. So these are very important issues that we face when we're working from home. But with internal communications and leadership, we can actually enhance this employee experience. We can actually draw people into the organization, into the decisions. For example, at Worcester Business School, we do have daily coffee hours where people actually can join and see what other people from their home and feel that they're still part of the community. So what can we do as internal communications and leaders to improve this employees experience? So now that we have the technology, now that we have Zoom, that we have Microsoft Teams, that we have these applications that we can communicate with each other, we should actually focus on the positive and try to make people understand that these tools are here to make everybody be part of the organization. This also will help. We need actually to look and help employees to feel that they are still part of the organization, that their today tasks that they do from home are still relevant, and they are still members of the community that we build inside the organization with the communications. Employees and leaders should actually be able to listen what their employees are saying in social media, in official and non-official channels of communications, and try to connect with them. find a purpose, find a reason why we are having this daily meeting, official daily meeting, or this weekly catch up online. It's really important that you listen what your employees are actually saying, and that the two-way flow of communication it's open, especially during these very challenging times. And this actually leads me to the other one, to the point number 4, is that the leaders actually, and by this I'm talking about managers, I'm talking head of departments, they need to lead by example. They need to be there. They need to be available, because if you don't show your employees that that this communication is effective, that this communication is relevant, that this communication will enhance the sense of community, it doesn't matter how much money you actually spend on setting these platforms, your employees actually will follow your example. So to wrap up, this outbreak, it's a wake-up call. It's a wake-up call for managers, for HR departments, for leaders, to actually realize the importance of internal communications, the importance of the opinions of each one of the employees, and to create and facilitate channels of communication, open channels of communications, where employees can communicate with each other and also with other members of the top management of the organization. I think that's about it, what I wanted to talk to you. Thank you very much for your time and for your attention. And if you ever have any questions, or you want to discuss further this topic, please don't hesitate to contact me. My email address is here, or you can follow me or my tweets in social media. Thank you very much indeed, and have a good day.
Thank you to Paolo there at the University of Worcester. That was fantastic. So hopefully myself and Joe have given you some nice top tips that you can take back and implement into your organisations. There is another thing that we wanted to mention, which leads on quite nicely from what we've talked about this morning, is that myself, Walsall College and the University of Worcester have actually partnered together to deliver a chartered management degree apprenticeship. Now, this apprenticeship will hopefully implement some of the things that we've talked about earlier today into modules. So it's gonna, obviously, like we said, COVID's not going away. So we want to really integrate that into our curriculum offer and into the apprenticeships that we're offering. So the Chartered Management Degree Apprenticeship, just to give you a little bit more information, is it's a degree apprenticeship that's accredited by the Chartered Management Institute, and it really gives individuals leadership and management skills so that they can maximise the talents of their team. Primarily, it's for existing managers or people that are aspiring to become managers, so to take that first step into the world of management. We do have a cohort starting in January 2021, of which we have some selection days in the coming months whereby you go through a kind of process to determine whether it is suitable for you, whether it is something that you want to do. And it's great because it kind of is basically on-the-job training. So you'll gain a qualification for your day-to-day role, and obviously it is a degree. So you complete study in aspects of leadership and management. You conduct investigations in the workplace, so it's on-the-job projects and work-based initiatives that essentially will shape the future of your business as well, whilst improving your leadership and management skills. It can be tailored completely to suit business needs. So we can, like we said, add modules of top tips for managers during challenging times. You can choose optional modules to tailor it to best suit your role within the business. So if this is something that you are interested in, and you would like to gain a bit more information about, definitely get in touch. I will be sharing these slides following this event, and also we'll be dropping you an email. So if you do have any questions, then do get in touch, or if you'd like more information, obviously just get in touch with myself or Joe.